GM. It's Monday, April 11th, and this week in NFTs has been heating up as we just got a little announcement from Coinbase. And is ApeCoin coming soon? Morning, Tyler. So, we had a bunch of stuff basically prepped for today, and then Coinbase comes out with a tweet that says something is coming, and they tagged Bored Ape Yacht Club, ApeCoin. So, what's your take on this?
This is how it always goes. You've got plans. I just finished, writing my preview article for the week, and then here out of left field, Coinbase drops this announcement, and it's a game changer and one that was not on my radar. So Loopify did a nice job kind of retweeting this and starting out the discussion a little bit. But basically, you said it. Coinbase just tweeted this image. Something is coming with a subtext, probably nothing. But what's important is who they tagged. And they only tagged two NFT projects, Bored Ape Yacht Club and ApeCoin. And they also tagged the Coinbase wallet and the marketplace, I think. So the writing on the wall here is Yuga Land sale will be on Coinbase Marketplace with ApeCoin is my interpretation and speculation on this. And I've actually got a little bit more detail from the rumor mill. The speculated date is 4/20. So April 20th, which is next Wednesday, for the memes. And I think any meme date is believable in the NFT space. So I'm not betting against April 20th for a drop date.
Yeah. And, do you think people need to anticipate this by getting money over onto Coinbase? Because I know one thing we were talking about earlier is if you haven't set up a Coinbase account yet, then you might want to do that ASAP, because sometimes to get the funds on there takes, is it like 5 days? So if you don't already have a Coinbase account, then it's almost like they should announce something more concrete, right, beforehand.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much to unpack from such a simple tweet. But yeah, that's exactly where my head started going already. So I think a really critical piece of this is, will Coinbase Marketplace allow other wallet integration like MetaMask? And we have reason to believe that it will, because I remember back when they were doing the early demos for Coinbase NFT, the marketplace, they did show a MetaMask integration. So you didn't have to just have a Coinbase wallet to interact to trade on their marketplace. So if that is the case, then everyone is probably fine who just holds their ape in MetaMask or whatever wallet they hold it in, as long as it's an integration partner. But to your point, and loading up Coinbase for those who haven't used it, I mean, that's definitely a factor to consider, especially if you want to be on the conservative side. If those integrations aren't there, having some potential funds in Coinbase and ready to go. And for those who use Coinbase as their onboarding ramp, it does take a solid 5 days, if not more. That's 5 business days. For your funds to clear before you can send the funds out of your wallet. I don't know exactly what it'll mean for purchasing. You might be able to purchase without the 5 days, but of course we don't know. That also lends me to believe that Yuga won't be able to do a stealth announcement 12 hours in advance, like they've done for a lot of their previous announcements. If this is going to be a Coinbase launch and there are going to be steps to take, it's going to have to be 5 days, 7 days in advance at a minimum. So that's what I've been thinking this morning.
Yeah, and then the other question that's popped up is, do you think this is connected to the KYC? We were talking a little earlier about this, where originally you said the KYC was for Animoca, but I guess you could argue this could get tied in as well using Coinbase.
I don't think so. I think the two are totally separate. So I think that the Animoca is likely some game, likely a P2E game that they're launching. I don't think Coinbase would accept KYC from Animoca. I don't think they would be sharing information across the two.
Mm,
So there will be a coin. It's a great question. Will there be a Coinbase KYC aspect to this?
yeah.
If you simply just do the MetaMask integration, that's a great question. I don't know the answer.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if you will be able to use MetaMask for this, because I know, at least from people that I've talked to, I would estimate that there's more people that hold Ape through their MetaMask wallet than the Coinbase wallet. So I would think that's something that they want to incorporate, just because of, I mean, I personally would prefer if I can just connect it through my MetaMask, then I don't have to, sell it or send it over to Coinbase and set that all up. So it would be easier to just use MetaMask.
Yeah, I totally agree. And then the other aspect of this is now there's a third marketplace that
Yeah.
we're all going to be forced to use if you want to participate in Yuga Lands. And I think that's a pretty universal yes for
Hmm.
most of the active NFT market right now. It's definitely a big yes for me, and an event I've been planning for a while. I think one of the pieces of surprise to me is I just had this idea in my head that Yuga was going to have their own marketplace up and
Mm.
running, and maybe that was naive for me to think that. It's certainly something that they would have been working on months in advance. I didn't see this coming, them partnering with Coinbase, but man, we've been kind of laughing at Coinbase. They've been the laughing stock. Are they ever going to launch? This is a huge launch.
Yeah.
So this is going to
Yeah.
drive some real volume to their marketplace. This is a slam dunk potential opening announcement partner for them
Yeah.
if this is actually what happens.
It'll be interesting to see like that side of it once we get a more formal announcement, because who knows, it could just be the initial launch and you could still hold the NFTs and transact them on OpenSea potentially. It sort of depends on how they have it set up, because I think, I mean, I would guess a lot of people don't even have a Coinbase wallet set up in order to house these NFTs if they were to buy it. So that, like you said, that's going to bring a lot of new wallets onto Coinbase if that's the case. So, and to go off your point of if it's going to take, say, 5 days, then they almost have to make this announcement by like Wednesday for people to get prepared for it. This Wednesday, that is, if it's going to be, like a week out, and tax season is ending, coming up in a week here. So kind of is in line with that. But yeah, this one is something that we'll definitely keep our eyes on. We weren't expecting this to drop this week. We had plenty of other information we talk about. So let's get into that a little bit. So the Azuki Beanz reveal didn't happen over the weekend. We were thinking it would, but they did have this Coachella announcement
Mhm.
that you had just showed on there. Do you think this Coachella announcement was of note?
I do think the Coachella announcement is of note. Another hot take for me. So first, I whiffed. I thought the Beanz reveal was going to be this past weekend, and that was tied to their announcement regarding the Azukis that were in a contract and the window to claim their beans. That window previously was going to close this past Saturday. They extended it now to April 14th at, I want to say, 2 a.m. Eastern. So that would be this Thursday, early morning, Wednesday evening, essentially, will be the cutoff to claim your beans. And to me, that step has to be completed before we see a reveal on these. That's the order of operations. But assuming that they don't postpone that deadline again, that lines us up for a potential weekend reveal, potentially as soon as Thursday. And then when you couple that with this Coachella announcement, so there's a Korean hip hop trio, Epic High, who is performing at Coachella this weekend, and the art director, I don't know their exact role. The art director at Azuki has been working with one of the artists to help design this set. So there's speculation: could there be a reveal hint or a live reveal tied into this set, which would be pretty cool, right?
Yeah,
And they've been combining like IRL events already.
right.
The airdrop happened at an IRL event, so it's certainly on the list of possibilities. So I'm leaning towards Friday for
Yeah.
the
So
reveal
in
for these.
the set is going to be on Friday, where with Epic High.
I don't know that for a
Yep.
fact, but the dates on this poster say April 15th and the 22nd. So I'm assuming, yeah, Friday the 15th.
Yeah. Yeah, and that would be interesting. Now, one thing I've been thinking about is just in general, they didn't do the reveal yet. We have obviously like now this Yuga announcement for next week. We also have the Moonbirds coming this weekend. So it's almost like, is there going to be too many things happening at once? Um, sort of a general market right now. There's not a ton of liquidity as people seem to be saving money for these things. So do you think it could be bad if they dropped it that late in this week?
I don't think it will be bad. Um, in general, my take on the current market is we are absolutely still on the cusp of a new NFT bull cycle, but it's just momentarily paused, primarily due to the looming events led by Moonbirds. And I think there's a lot of liquidity on the sidelines right now. But as soon as the dominoes start falling, and I think the first domino to fall is the Friday raffle results for Moonbirds. When people find out if they won that slot or not. For the losers, that ETH now is unlocked to use in other parts of the NFT space. And I think that's going to kick off a potential blow off weekend in the NFT markets, especially if we have a few of these other announcements kind of come to light here. Um, with that being said, I really hope they all don't happen this week because it might be spreading folks a little too thin. I don't know that we've had this many potential reveals, events, mints, all in the same 3 to 5 day window. So it's kind of unprecedented. But it there's also a scenario where the mind just rotates around and we see highest liquidity days that we've ever seen in the NFT space. So
Yeah,
I'm
people
prepared
could
for any
have
and all
been
of it.
just holding stuff on the sidelines waiting for these things in general, and these are what they want to spend on. The other big one is Monolith. That, I mean, how long ago did that box come out? And it's still sitting at a 70th floor. So do you think that one, to me, I feel like maybe they'll just hold off as well and wait for other things to die down a little.
Yeah, I mean, this is one that I'm done trying to predict. I was deep in the threads, the prediction threads last week. I was calling for this past Saturday. I think April 9th has a tie to the 2001 A Space Odyssey movie, the 4-9 in some capacity. Read a deep thread on that, so I bought into it. Of course, it didn't happen. I think that the last quest is still actively happening. But man, this thing came out. Let's look at the activity chart. It came out February 5th. So we're well past a 2-month reveal
Yeah.
window. Um, I think Benito from the Artifact team said that the reveal was going to happen before his birthday. His birthday's in mid-April, but who knows? I think ultimately they want to get this one right.
Yeah.
There's way too much hype that's built for Monolith at this point for them to rush it and do it wrong. And this is one that I selfishly hope is not this weekend. I think there's too much else potentially happening for this one to throw its hat in the mix as well. So I'm kind of hoping we see end of month now for Monolith.
Yeah, and I think that's probably for them. It seems like people, I don't want to say have just like accepted that it hasn't opened yet. It seems like people are less like on edge about it versus say the Beans that has been kind of fresh. They made it the dirt. They made it the in a pod, and so to me, it seems like this one makes the most sense to not launch. Um, and it's already at a little higher of a floor. So to me, that's sort of my thoughts with it. I think we'll find out, but um, the other one that's been around for a while is the Cool Pets. That also seems like it might be on the verge of Cooltopia launching this week.
Yeah, you might be a little closer to this one than me, Lou. But I'm not a Cool Cats holder. I haven't been participating in the Cooltopia beta testing, but as I understand it, the beta tests have been going well. I'm reading the town hall notes right now. There's over 600 testers who have been, in and playing around with the game. It looks like 150 to 300 at peak. Everything that I've heard through, the chats, rumor mill is that everything's been going pretty well. And the folks that I know and trust who are into this project think that Cooltopia launches this week. Um,
Yeah.
and if that does in fact happen, my take is the Cool Pets is positioned to be one of the biggest winners of this week. And again, this is tied to the importance of that Moonbirds raffle. So that raffle ticket is 2.5 ETH. I'm still thinking most entrants have earmarked those funds. They're sitting in their wallets. They don't want to risk them here across the next 5 days. Once the raffle is announced, for those who lose and now have 2.5 ETH to spend, I think a lot of them are going to look downstream. So what products are below 2.5 ETH and are attractive for potential ROI, a good swing trade, or a good longer term investment? Cool Pets is at the top of that list, especially if we have reason to believe that Cooltopia is going to launch soon. So I think Cool Pets sitting at 1.55 ETH. It's a blue chip product, one of the strongest communities out there. I think there's going to be a lot of attention on this if we get some any type of announcement related to Cooltopia.
Yeah, definitely. And we've seen that in the past with basically anytime they announce things, the Cool Pets have started to run a little bit with that beta test. That was one. Then when there was the Yuga rumor, the pets ran a little bit as well. So it does seem like people are ready for it. And I think the big piece of note here as well is they're going to start with 2 times the milk rewards. So I think that makes it a little more attractive to start. Milk is around 6 cents or so right now. So basically hasn't taken too massive of a hit over this time frame. So I think that'll be another thing that could attract people is potentially buying into the token itself. But I
And
think the 2 times the rewards is going to be something that attracts just the Cool Cat ecosystem back to people a little bit more. And the issue is, once again, like the timing of this could be poor if they drop this around the same time as basically everything else we've already talked about, which at this point in time, those 3 are all generally bigger projects right now, especially in, I think, overall sentiment.
yeah, I think the real losers of this are the lower end projects who aren't going to see any attention for the rest of this month. But I'm curious on milk. So have cat and pet owners been accruing milk this whole time, or has it been on pause? Do you know, Lou?
Yeah, so they are basically resetting it.
Okay.
So they're going to reset it, but then make it that's where the doubling of the earnings is going to be because of the delay. So I think what they decided, which probably is the right decision, was it was sitting around for so long. They don't want people to all of a sudden have, potentially millions of milk tokens and then you
Mhm.
can dump it right away. So they don't want to just release that out to the world, but they want people to feel okay about holding it this long. So they're doubling the original rewards. And then I think they didn't put an exact date on this, but I think it's going to be, say, for like a month or so until people sort of get back to where they would have been at this point.
And then, do you recall the ratio that the pets earn on a daily basis for milk
Yeah, people
as
were
the Cool
doing
Pets?
there was a few different um, articles out there that were trying to break it down as far as like averages. I want to say it it was around half.
Okay.
There was it really depends on if you hit like the legendary items or not. If you don't hit any legendary items, it's like 30-40%. But if you do, it could be like 60%. So I think it averages in that like probably 40 to 50% which I think it's trading, let's see, 1.5 at, yeah. So it's trading a little below that right now. It's
It's
trading at
trading at like
about closer to
20%.
20%. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So
we could see an increase if those rewards come out to be true.
absolutely. I think this market is one that it, it pretty quickly will correct to imbalances like that and inefficiencies. So if milk comes out and it's confirmed that the ratio, whatever that ratio is, and the game is turned on, I think we'll see cool pets correct to that ratio. So if it's 30%, we'll see it at what 2.66. If it's 50%, it's got 4 ETH upside. Of course, not financial advice. Do your own research, but just even talking through this, I think cool pets is potentially one of the better trades on the board.
And I mean, you could probably argue that the cool cats themselves could be back to being a decent bet if they're going to start getting the rewards 2x as well. They're going to be getting over 2,000 tokens passively a day, whereas the pets you kind of have to like work for it, you know. So it's interesting. It basically settled at this 8 ETH range as far as the cool cats go, and it pumped up to close to 10 each time that they get thrown into a Yuga announcement, and then comes back and settles around 8. So it seems like 8's the fair price for them right now, and it seems like 1.5 is the fair price for cool pets. So maybe that's just the expectation, is that people think similar to how the mutant apes have been trading to the bored apes, and part of that could be the higher supply too. Just the fact that you have 20,000 of the pets. Maybe that's why the price is, in a sense, halved from what we were potentially expecting from the earnings. So that's a reason why I agree with you on the take that it could be one of the better plays right now is to buy into pets, just because if it turns out that they get more than the 20% um, on earnings, then the market, now we're a lot more mature, and it seems like on the staking projects and stuff like that is when these balance out a little more to accurate.
Yeah, and then to your point, you also have another out if cool cats run, right? So just even looking at this price chart, January 30th, cool cats were at 15, 16 ETH. So it's down a full 50% from the all-time high, the really a local high, so to speak, just a few months back. Um, Even if it stays pegged at that 5-to-1 ratio, if the cats jump 50%, so will the pets, right? So there's a few, ways that the trade could pay off.
Yeah, and again, I think it's just it's tough timing for them. It's almost, even if they're ready, they've been sort of out of it for so long that maybe it's better for them to wait a little bit. Um, who knows? There's been a lot of these rumors of them tied to Yuga. Maybe they have some announcement for that same Coinbase timeframe. I think Cool Cats might have been one of them that was attached to Coinbase. I forget. I'm trying to think,
Probably.
because that Coinbase ad from the Super Bowl had a lot of random NFTs on there, and I thought Cool Cats might have been on it, but um, anyway, like, yeah, they've sort of are, at least at this point, seem to be a tier below the Azuki, Clonex, and Bored Ape tier. So to me, that could hurt them, but it seems like they've been pretty steady around this 8 for a while. So it seems like the downside risk isn't too much to get into these. And like you said, if people were sitting around, and even if they're thinking, oh, Moonbirds, I want to set aside, 5 ETH to try to get 2 of them, or, you know, um, trying to buy them on secondary, then I can see people having the funds ready, and then say Moonbirds comes out at, 15 ETH floor, and then all of a sudden they had 10 ETH ready, and instead they put it into a cool cat that just announced something. So there's a lot of different ways that you can play it right now, which is kind of interesting in general. So yeah, do you
Yeah.
have anything else on the Cooltopia stuff?
No, I think you nailed it. I think just that the final thought is the Cool Cats team has to get this one right. Like they've had too many missteps with the launch of this game with the Cool Pets minting. So at this point, they need to be 100% sure that everything's going to be smooth before they launch. So keeping that in mind, that would be a rational reason for this not to come out this week. If they're still not fully confident. But there's going to be a lot of eyes on this when they do finally announce.
Cool. Was there any others that are revealing that we need to talk about?
Revealing. Do you want
Or
to?
it's
Do you
all
include the gutter? The gutter juice
oh yeah,
is
so
a reveal.
gutter juice. Actually, yeah, let's do gutter juice and then we can come back to doodles. But gutter juice been sitting around this 0.2 ever since the cats were able to mutate. So now on the 14th, which is Thursday, is when the gutter rat juice is going to be able to be used. And so this, interestingly enough, has stayed basically around this 0.25 to 0.3 range. I'm not sure. Do you think that these will pump a little bit leading up to it? I just think there's so many other things going on that if people were interested in the rat juice, they might already have it.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think the gutter cat gang and that whole ecosystem has been kind of one of the losers of this whole attention cycle that's been led by Moonbirds and then some of these other projects. And I think the extended cloning reveal period for the four species has been at their detriment from the perspective of keeping the market's attention. We saw the gutter cat clones. That juice peaked at 1.5 the day
Yeah.
the clone machine went live, and then it's been kind of the slow trickle down. I actually haven't. Well, let's see. We can pull it up here and see what it's at. I know it went below 1, so it's at 0.78, and then I think the gutter cat clones are at like 0.55 or something. So right there informs us where the rats are going to come out, right? They're going to come out at some multiple of the cats, and it's probably going to be 1/3. I'd say is my kind of back the napkin off the cuff guess. So if the cats are sitting at 0.55, they're going to be around 0.2. Expect that they'll drop a little bit from the juice premium because of the rare lotto. But I don't know. I don't have a great read on it. The gutter cat community is still one of the best out there. They're super hyped about everything. Anytime there's a gutter cat announcement or a big sale, the comments on Twitter are just rapid fire, and it's really fun and it's great to see. But I think the volume of the supply right now is just a little bit too much.
Yeah.
It just outpaces the demand. That's just the reality.
And it's like they don't need 10,000 of each species. Now they went from a small supply in small community to now almost like this oversupply, at least on the other species. I think maybe it made sense to clone the cats and just the cats, or maybe just smaller amounts of the other species could have worked. But I do think, as you mentioned, like the timing was just a little off with Azuki with their airdrop. It was like perfectly timed to hurt gutter cats. So yeah, to me, it's tough because the way a lot of these have worked is the juice likely is going to be higher priced because that gets supply squeezed. There might be some larger sales of the rats, but if we expect, I mean, a third is going to be under 0.2 for the clones itself. And I don't know if the rats are that low, then how are people going to be excited for the other species, right? That's sort of the downside risk.
Yeah, I think there's definitely some downside risk there. But long term, this play makes sense. And I think this was always
Yeah.
a long term play for the gutter cat community. To go from a smaller community of what, probably 2,000 to 3,000 holders now, to try to expand that across this launch of 28,000. There's going to be hills and valleys, and they're going to take a hit the next 3 weeks. That's just a reality. But eventually the money always flows down, and they're definitely set up to be a down the line winner, I think. But that's going to be a few weeks away at a minimum.
Yeah. So that's the one with the gutter juices. I still have some kind of just sitting on them, like you said, like long term. Who knows? Like when there's only 1,000 of these, but it seems like the market has gotten a little smarter with this type of thing, and more people hold them now than before in some of these other projects. So, yeah, there's 34, so about half of them got used. Not a crazy high number for holders.
It's so funny. You're spot on. The market's gotten so much faster. Like now, the new alpha is hold your juice, hold your vials, and don't mint. Well, everyone in the market figured that out, and now 50% of the vials are still unminted.
I think
2 weeks?
The gutter team has also hinted at more benefits if you hold it longer, so that might have attributed to it, because these are all DNA 1, but I think there's ways to get up to DNA 2 and 3 further down the road. So I think some people are holding them as that speculation as well. But yeah, it doesn't seem like the cat's out of the bag with that strategy. It sort of worked with the mutants, the Clone X vials, the mint passes for the from Pixel Vault, and so it does seem like that's been more accepted as a strategy now. So I don't know if that hurt or helped, but we'll see how that works with the rats as well. And so then you also had up the Doodles, so potential Doodles alpha that's incoming. People have been talking about recently, what are Doodles going to do to now battle against what Azuki has done, what CloneX has done with these airdrops, and Doodles haven't been doing the airdrops. They did the space Doodles, which was the non-dilutive. So what do you have from Doodles?
Yeah, unfortunately, Doodles was kind of the punching bag of the aftermath of the Azuki airdrop. Everyone saw this, blue chip, strong mid-tier brand following the Yuga playbook, doing, a more traditional airdrop, which, at peak was 7 ETH. It's still, 4.5 ETH, right? Well, 9 if you multiply it by 2, provided for each owner. And then they're comparing that back to the space capsules, which didn't move the market at all and really didn't provide any extra utility in the form of money to the Doodles base, which, rightfully or wrongfully, that's been the reaction. And it's a shame because Doodles was one of the biggest winners of, late winter with coming out of South by Southwest. They were the talk of the town. Everyone was like, Doodles is the next brand to make it and springboard up. But then Azuki's kind of came out and quieted that and became the, de facto number 2 now, behind Bored Apes, in that ecosystem. But I mean, kudos to the Doodles team. They're not just going to sit on their hands and be quiet. This is an attention-driven space. They see that. So they essentially made an announcement of an announcement saying here, in short, I'll read the quote. In short, we will make the fucking biggest announcement of an announcement soon. Give us the time to deliver. And
right after they said they're not going to underpromise and overdeliver, they give an announcement like that.
Yeah, but I like it. I like the move. But then the recent rumor mill is people think the announcement is coming this week. I don't really know where that timeline is necessarily coming from. But this Discord announcement is from April 5th here. So I mean, they can't go too long, right? So I think certainly we can expect an announcement of an announcement in April.
Yeah, that seems to be like the new way of teams doing it, and even we saw that with the Coinbase announcement. That announcement is coming. 'cause people are so impatient in this space, and I feel like it's their way of keeping people from just bailing. It's like, oh, something's coming, we'll let you know. But then it's the whole idea of like buy the rumor, sell the news, because once the news comes out, it's just never good enough for people. So yeah, we'll see what this one ends up being. Do you think it's going to be some sort of airdrop? Because that's what people have been complaining about a lot.
Yeah, I think it's going to be some kind of an airdrop. Whether or not it ties in space capsules or not, I'm unsure. But one thing I am sure about is this is a brand that the artwork is so well loved that they could easily have a companion or a companion set or a mirroring set, kind of like World of Women did. It will be very well received.
Yeah, because there's the noodles that have been what's the term, they've been like blessed by them in the doodle bank, but for that's not technically theirs. So I mean, I don't know if Doodles or anything that's worthy of holding or not, but seems like Doodles have sort of settled around this 14 ETH floor since the South by Southwest pump. I think people that hold them feel pretty good about holding them. They've hit over this 100,000 of ETH trading, and yeah, it's one of those things that they're one of the higher PFPs on Twitter. I think it. I think the stat was mutants were first. I think it was mutants, then Doodles and Bored Ape and Azuki.
Mm.
But Doodles are in the top 5. It's pretty much those 4 are the main ones. And I think it just shows just the simplicity of the art, how simple it is, and the color scheme. I think is why people actually use them for the PFPs. So, like you said, with that brand and style of art, like they could easily come out with, say, an animal version or something that's like somewhat of a companion. But in the past, they were worried about over diluting. So we'll see on that one
The
as
market
well.
wants dilution as long as it's profitable.
Right. People would rather dilution if it means 10 grand in your pocket or whatever. So,
Absolutely.
cool. So yeah, let's move towards sort of the known. One thing that you're talking about with your article is there's knowns and then unknowns this week. So, let's go to the knowns a little bit. Should we do the V friends first? One thing we talked about last week was the Vayner Sport stuff, which they actually just had a little announcement that they're grouping with Micah Johnson, the Aku project. But let's go to the Gary side with VFriends Series 2.
Yeah, so VFriends Series 2 is coming, and I think in any other week it would be the number one news story
Mm,
of hot drops. What we do have here is an extended mint window, so that's something that that might actually diminish the hype around this. So I think we're actually a few weeks away from really the peak hype mania. But just kind of breaking down the logistics of this drop for those who may not be familiar. So VFriend Series 2, the next version of VFriend Series 1, Series 1 being one of the blue chips to come out of the 2021 NFT market. Gary Vee cementing himself as one of the premier players in the NFT space, one of the top influencers. If I had to list people who can move markets, he's at the top of that list,
yep.
and that's been proven over time. He's been famous to say NFTs don't have a supply problem, they have a demand problem. And he's putting that theory to the test here. He's dropping 55,555 for the supply here for Series 2. And the mint price is $995 priced in Ethereum. So whatever the price of Ethereum is at the time of mint, it'll be tagged to that 995. So that's the supply and the price. They had a big friends list, a few different ways that you're able to get on that. That friends list window now is closed. The friends list mint starts tomorrow, April 12th. 32,000 of the 55,000 will come in that friends list mint. So that is a paid mint for those on that list. And then the Series 1 free claim. So anyone who holds the Series 1 VFriend gets one free Series 2 here. That also opens up tomorrow. So we're going to see 42,000 of the supply start to trickle into OpenSea in the secondary market here in the coming days and weeks. I think it'll be really interesting at how quickly these get minted. If some folks even potentially wait till after the dust settles on Moonbirds, or those who just want to, get right out of the gate and get on this one. But it's a delayed reveal. So the public mint, the final 10,000 is coming on April 25th. And as I understand it, there won't be a reveal until all of the NFTs have been minted.
Yeah, and I think, what's interesting about this, a few things that I had for thoughts, but the 15 new characters, in my mind, could be the play. I think it'll be interesting to see if this all comes up as one collection on something like OpenSea, or if they'll come out as different collections since they have different mint dates. And then the public sale itself is something to watch, because after the whole I don't know, dilemma, I guess, with AJ's minting on his public sale, I think this is almost that much more important that Gary gets the public mint right. How to handle gas, potentially using a 721A contract, and ways to not have that happen again. Because if it happens again, the big complaint, I think, from people was, if you weren't using 721, like, how far separated from NFTs are you?
Right.
I heard that sort of take. And, if we see this happen again, where it's just a messy public mint, then I don't know if people are going to want to mint future Vaynerchuk projects after that. So, to me, I'm interested in the 15 new characters, what they end up being priced at. If it's similar to VFriends 1, I would, and I think the other ones, I would guess, are going to be more closely priced to like the book games.
No, I think that's a great take. That's an area of big focus. And the nice part about this timing for late April now is, if a lot of these events do transpire over the next week, the dust will have settled in time for the VFriends to reveal. And it'll be the point where the funds start flowing down, down the NFT ecosystem. And that public sale on the 25th, you're spot on. He has to get the contracts right. Like, there will be no appetite for a poorly set up contract for a gas war, but it will be a gas war. And at that point, we'll have 2 weeks to pre-reveal, secondary, to balance off of and plan for. I have to imagine they're trading over mint price with the Gary V name and the hype behind this. So that's going to be likely a gas war on the 25th. But folks have some time to prepare.
Yeah. And then I think, what I see here, and this is where it has that tie into the VSP, is I see that it says the 6 1-of-1 spectacular. And those are all the same as what the passes were. So it's interesting. The bubblegum, diamond, hologram, lava. Those are also what the passes were, the more rare passes. So I'm interested to see if there's going to be a tie-in between those two projects. I would assume in some way they'll have a tie-in, but who knows what that'll be. Some people have been speculating and trying to convince them that if you have a VSP, you could get some sort of whitelist or chance at whitelist onto this public mint. But we'll see.
That's a great call.
Another massive supply coming in into the space, and I just think there's a lot that is going to be riding on this one, as you mentioned, like, to get things right. So,
yeah, we haven't talked about the raise. So that's going to be like a 15,000 ETH raise.
Yeah,
and we've got
like 4.5 mil.
No, at a decimal, it'll be like 45.
Oh.
Yeah,
yeah.
And then Yuga Land potentially will be 70,000, so 70,000 ETH potentially. So there's going to be a lot of
liquidity.
ETH kind of taken out of the ecosystem. I think it's all going to depend on how the secondary market goes and if they're really profitable or not. Well, it's going to dictate how the month of May and the rest of spring goes for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And then another that's a good segue into the what we thought was the main driver of this liquidity problem, but now maybe not so much. Is all of these top tier projects are now like coming out with something that people want to spend on. So now Moonbirds, coming from Proof Collective, which Proof is around 90 ETH floor. This is going to be their official PFP project, 10,000 Moonbirds. And the big thing that people have been talking about is this raffle system they have. They cut off the raffle to enter, but now they're spending basically the week to go through and remove bots that pop up. I think I saw a number is around 50,000 was the number that they're expecting for wallets on this one. And yeah, you had to have the 2.5 ETH. They had a Spaces talking about it recently, but they're going to announce the winners on Friday. So what do you think is going to happen after that announcement, basically, if you find out you're not in?
So first, we kind of buried the lead on the show today, but I think this is Super Bowl week for NFTs 2022. Like this is the headline event of Super Bowl week. The Moonbirds mint on Saturday, and what maybe hasn't been talked about, but I think there's a lot of chatter about in the NFT space and the alpha groups is what's going to happen with this raffle. So, you said the 50,000 entrance number. So they've got 120,000 followers on Twitter. So I kind of put that as the max number of raffle entries that they could possibly have. My gut was it was going to be around somewhere between 70 and 80,000. I'd be happy if it's at 50,000. But if we do some quick math, 50,000 raffle entrants times 2.5 ETH, that's 125,000 ETH. That's essentially out of the ecosystem right now. And there was a lot of speculation over the weekend on whether or not you need to keep the ETH in your wallet to remain qualified for the raffle. And given the uncertainty, I think most folks were leaning towards keeping it in. Yesterday, they finally came out and announced that, hey, no, you don't have to keep the ETH in your wallet. So that's been good. I think that eased a little bit of the pressure. But that being said, we're facing a short-term bear market over the next few days. The floors are down. I don't think many people are going to be comfortable trying to flip 2.5 ETH for a quick scalp between now and Friday. So I think the money is still effectively on the sidelines. So I think, what does that mean for the next 4 days? It's slow bleeding across the board. Most floors are going to either chop or move down. And the lowest end probably takes the biggest hit. But then fast forward to Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific, the winners are announced. And I think a majority of the 50,000 entrants are going to be priced out if they don't win the raffle. So right there, we're going to have a huge liquidity unlock event. And we kind of alluded to it below. There's going to be some big winners coming out of that. I think Cool Pets is there. Beanz potentially, right? It's only at about 2x.
Yeah.
So it's within range. And then certainly any of the hotter projects right below that. And then here in the comments, there's talking about, you got to hold in case the no shows come around. That's a great point. I don't know how many people have the patience to do that. I mean, what percentage of no shows do we think there'll be? Like, 5%,
10%,
max. I think Premit's got the data on that. I think they've seen upwards of 10% on average. I think 20% for some of the lower profile mints. So that is a great point. But I really think Moonbirds is going to come out at a minimum 7 to 10 ETH floor.
Yeah, similar to like the Invisible Friends initial. Like, we think it'll be around 7, 8, but wouldn't be surprised if people are buying at that like 12 to 15 range to start.
Yeah, I mean, that's how Invisible Friends came out of the gate, right? It was auto buys, anything that came out 11 to 13.
Yeah.
This has much more demand, a much bigger buyer pool than
Yeah.
that did. And
And
I
this is
know,
more raffle based too, where, you know, if people were gaming the system and entering multiple wallets, they might like forget when they're checking which one and not even know they're on the list or something like that too.
though the flip side is, for Invisible Friends, those who qualified for it by buying like the mood rollers and the slim hoods, it had kind of built up an anticipated price point of 6 to 7 ETH because of what those NFTs cost. This won't have that. So the cost basis will be 2.5 for everyone who wins the raffle, and then it'll be free for the 2,000 that's going to the Proof Collective owners. So we're going to have an average effective cost basis of 2 ETH. Um, that might mean we get a little bit of a lower secondary right out of the gate, but it's hard. I mean, there's just so much hype behind this right now.
Because we even saw it with like Cool Pets. That was another one that at the time that you could mint, it was, guaranteed like 1 ETH profit, and there still was, 10% people that just didn't mint. So I think it just comes with the territory that it's not going to be 100% likely. But who knows? Like this, if you're entering this raffle, you're probably interested in it as well. But at the same time, people might look at it and think there's better ways for me to be spending this ETH right now. They might be thinking of if Azuki reveals the day before, if Cooltopia reveals, like if the Yuga announcement comes out and they want to be liquid for that. Like there are generally reasons that people could think that this isn't going to be as much of a slam dunk with everything else going on.
Yeah, I mean, there's already like second and third level game theory being playing out
Yeah.
in people's minds and in chat groups, right? And you nailed it. I mean, if you think that Moonbirds are going to come out at 10 to 15 ETH, is there going to be quick ROI at that price point? Maybe not.
There might
Right?
not be enough demand for it.
Probably
Yeah.
not. So then you start backtracking. So the rest of the market's been bleeding all week. Where are some better short-term plays? Where are some more quick upside here? Which is why I think it's just going to be a wild weekend. I think a lot of projects are going to benefit, probably ones that we haven't even considered. But then the other huge factor looming over all of this is if Yuga Land is confirmed for April 20th for next week, then does the money just go back to the sidelines ahead of Yuga Land? So we're playing some multivariate calculus right now. That is a fact.
Yeah. So that's the big one, I think, to be following this week, as it's basically it's a new project, but connected to Proof, which has really been going off recently. People debating if it's something that's worth 90 ETH in general, but I think each of those, there's 1,000 of them. I think they each have 2 attached to them.
Yes.
And then there's about what's that, 8,000 or so that is for this raffle.
Do you think we'll see a 24-hour surge in Proof buying from the time of the raffle announcement to the mint?
Yeah, because that's another game theory is, someone, I'm not going to say like, okay, whatever, like someone like me who I don't already have a proof, but I were to say miss on this, the raffle, like you're taking the chance at the raffle to not spend the 90 ETH. Like I wonder if there's people that will then go and buy a proof because they're like, well, I took a chance to get on this and then I didn't. So that's interesting. I don't know. I think there might be a little short-term pump to it, but wouldn't it also likely dump after the mint?
Most
Potentially, that's the
likely, but
risk.
I mean, just talking out loud, I'm thinking back to the Bored Ape situation ahead of the Ape Coin airdrop, right? So we had a 12-hour announcement where it was essentially confirmed there was going to be a coin drop, and we knew how many tokens that each of the NFTs was getting. And what happened that night? Bored Apes went from, was it 90 to 120, or it was either 90 or 80? I think it was 90. 90 ETH to 120 ETH overnight in a 12-hour window with like 10,000 ETH moving that market. This is a much lower supply set
Mhm.
with what might be similar demand. I mean, at that point in time, I think we thought the Ape coin airdrop would be around 20 ETH. No one thought it was going to be 50 ETH as much as it was. Well, I
Yeah.
think a lot of people think the Moonbird raffle, if you get 2 of these, that's 20 to 30 ETH of an airdrop you get right away for investing 90 ETH. I mean, there are those who have the funds who see those returns. That's pretty attractive, and the pass isn't going to zero. Like it will absolutely dump, right? It's going to dump correlated to how much buy pressure we see in the last few days, in my opinion. Um, I could
Um,
see a kind of a bullish unlock that happened with Bored Ape where it dumped right away and then kind of rebounded. Um, that wouldn't surprise me at all, but it's going to be some really interesting price action for the proof owners.
yeah. Yeah. So I think that'll all be some interesting stuff. And then I think on the other side of it, a different discussion that I've been having with people with taxes coming out right now is that also is taking some liquidity away. Like if people did well last year, then they are taking some off the table to then pay for taxes, assuming they didn't, put it aside earlier. Like there's definitely a chunk of the market that is pulling some off the table in that sense as well. So yeah, liquidity is a big theme this week. Hopefully, when we come back on Thursday, we'll have a little more information on the apes and whatever's going on with them in Coinbase. Was there anything that we missed that you wanted to talk about?
Just rapid fire. 2 other events happening this week. We've got the Forgotten Ruin Wizards. They're
Yeah.
doing their Beast drop tomorrow, the 12th. And then Capsule House is doing their second hatching. The humans are hatching on Thursday.
Mm.
So we'll see how those two markets kind of react. It's I think
Capsules
unfortunate
in that
timing
like
for both of those.
1.5, right? For capsule house.
Yeah, capsules are sitting around 1.5. They've gotten below 1, so they're on a bit of an uptick here.
Hmm.
For whatever reason, this set just hasn't really caught on. Didn't catch any of the momentum of the last kind of bull wave.
Hmm.
So we'll see if this drums up interest for them.
Yeah.
But it's a big event for that community.
Yeah. And I think, this is another one in that mid range as well as the Forgotten Runes that they seem to, if people miss out on the Moonbirds, like these is options right now. Um, the runes, they're one of those projects that could have been swing traded a lot, where they come out with announcement, it moves up half an ETH and then settles back down. But they've been slowly building up. Now they're in that 2.5 ETH range. They're another one that I think they were maybe the first that got announced from Coinbase. So
Mm-hmm.
they also have the Coinbase connection a little bit. But yeah, look how flat that chart is. Where I bet though, if you look up those dates, I bet they made some sort of announcement like, "Oh, gameplay is starting" or whatever on each of those dates. There's probably Coinbase announcement, then the game announcement, and then probably the announcement of this airdrop. This is the first, I think, of 2 that they're going to be getting. There's another one happening in another few weeks, but yeah, they're one I think keep your eyes on. But there's so much going on, they might get forgotten as in their names. So yeah, I think that a lot going on this week, and hopefully we'll have some more clarity by um, the weekend here, and Thursday when we're back on at 4 o'clock, we'll be sure to talk about a lot of this. It might be a lot of Moonbirds unless we get more clarity on some of these other things, and we can go over like what the Moonbirds project is itself as well. And then yeah, check out unluckytrader.com. Tyler does the article this week that basically what we've talked about, a little breakdown and with the links of how you can participate in all of these projects that we've been talking about for this week. So there's a lot that's still unknown. I'd say most of it is unknown right now, but hopefully, we get a little more clarity as the week goes on before Moonbirds. And then who knows? Maybe we'll be back next week talking about these things still haven't revealed. You never know. So thanks for watching. We'll be back on Thursday to go over some more NFTs.